Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? And welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview, back on our regular Thursday evening. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield. Brian Davis is actually at a graduation ceremony. His son is graduating high school, and so he's not with us this evening. I wish his son I'll send him congratulations over the World Wide Web. But Dave, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, it's good to be here. Yeah, we miss bad, but I mean, come on. This is, he let's just say this. If he even tried to do a show with us, but when it was right around his son's, I don't even know what time the graduation started or anything. And we're like, even if we waited till later or whatever to go, no, this is your family time. Congratulations, a little bad on that. And hopefully the next step is very kind to you, but hey, it's nice to be here with you, Jeff.
Yeah, and next week he's going to be out again because his nephew is graduating high school. Like Brian's going to be out. If I want to bring this up right away, Brian Brown says Jeff traded his hood to Dallas. I don't know what to do with the Shiesty hood now. You know what's funny is I actually wear it in the winter when it's really, really cold. I actually do wear it outside underneath.
Like when you're out like shoveling snow and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it lives on. It's just not going to be. The Shiesty hood is no longer going to be on the screen. I still forget how I wore that every day.
I know.
Or every show, not every day, but that's neither here nor there. All right, Dave, I want to talk to you about some news before we get into the topic of discussion, which is we're going to break down fourth-round draft pick Jack Sawyer, outside linebacker out of Ohio State. I think we can all assume, at least I can, that I thought by now, here we are, phase 3 of OTA starts Tuesday, the 27th. And I thought we would at least have some clarity at the quarterback position, and yet we still have none. Are you a little surprised that we still, again, don't have any clarity, and we keep getting the same response from Steelers brass saying, we're willing to wait a little bit longer. We're willing to wait a little bit longer. Like, okay, that's okay. Well, okay, we'll be patient. But Dave, what do you think?
Well, here's what makes it so interesting. When he didn't sign right away, I was constantly thinking, you know what? He doesn't want to have to do all the offseason stuff with everything. And, I kind of get that. It'd be better with the new team to do it. But I thought, you know what? Watch him sign because he doesn't want to do OTAs or even mandatory minicamp. I wouldn't be shocked if that's what it is. But that was so far out because we were talking about this in March. And I'm like, that's June. That's May and June. It's not gonna. I don't think waiting that long is really going to be what it's all about. But honestly, now that it's right here and on top of us, no, I don't think he's going to sign by then. I don't. I think it's going to be afterwards. Why would he wait this long and sign right before everything when really he could just wait a few more weeks, not have to go through all that? I say old person because in football terms, he's really old. Honestly, we have to admit that. So I know it's like, oh, well, he's got to sign by. No, to me, the only time he's got to sign by is training camp to think that they're going to rule it out. Now, if they change their mind and say, nope, we're not doing this anymore, I'm cool with that. But to think that the Steelers are going to impose something else at this point, my goodness, even Mike Tomlin kind of let it slide. It was Tomlin, right? At the league meetings, the first ones, not the ones that just happened this week.
Saying what?
Saying training camp.
That was Tomlin, yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, I think that really is what it is. But really, once mandatory minicamp's over, there's nothing keeping him from signing because it's not like he would be required to do anything.
The more I think about it, the more I think it's important that he signs before mandatory minicamp, based on the fact that I think that for the team, they need to know, like, is he in or out? I mean,
do they?
I would, if I'm a pass catcher, I do. If I'm someone like Pat Freiermuth or DK Metcalf, I feel like there's a pretty big gap between the two quarterbacks that we're talking about potentially being QB1. And if it's Mason, I just want to know that this is my guy. Like, this is the guy I need to really get comfortable with. If it's Rodgers, I need to, okay, that's my guy. I'm not saying they're going to impose any deadline or anything. I just think that it's important for him to be at least letting the rest of the team know I'm in, or maybe I'm out. I just wish a decision would be made. And we've talked about this. I've had a pre-write done for months. It's a tab on my computer that's just been waiting to potentially be completed with a couple tweets and a little bit of information. But I don't want to spend too much time on Aaron Rodgers. Any other thoughts on that, Dave?
No, I mean, honestly, I think if nothing else, why would they wait this long if they didn't really know the answer?
Yeah.
So to me, the answer is after minicamp, he's taking care of everything else that he's doing, and he has no other obligation other than to come in 100% ready to go at training camp. Other than if he does it after minicamp, he can do it on his own time to meet with Arthur Smith to figure out exactly what they're doing offensive. If they haven't really, I mean, what did they send him away with when he came to visit?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To me, there could be an understanding, just not a contract. I'm not saying that's definitely how it is. I'm just saying the way the Steelers are acting, it feels like it is. And if not, then I really would question, well, what are they doing? I think they kind of know what the deal was all along, and they're just waiting for the time to get there.
All right, I want to talk about shift gears a little bit. The other news is that Derek Hartman, it became official. We knew about this a couple days ago, but the Steelers announced he did sign his rookie contract, 4-year deal, fully guaranteed. My question is that normal? Has that been the norm and I just haven't been paying attention when I see these fully guaranteed contracts going to first round picks?
It's been creeping later and later into the first round, later on with picks. And honestly, I think that was the biggest holdup last year with Joey Porter Jr., where remember he didn't sign until 2 years ago. Sorry, did I say last year? Here I am. I'm not. It feels like last year. No, with Joey Porter Jr., when he was taken 32nd overall, how much of it was guaranteed? Things of that. Could he get a fully guaranteed? Now this year, I can't remember what pick it was, but I think it was maybe by the Houston Texans, someone who didn't have a first round pick, fully guaranteed a second round contract, which was the first time that happened. So if you look at it, I mean, Joey Porter's guaranteed salary, you really want to know, it's only about 600,000 of the 9 million is the only thing that's not guaranteed. On it, it's like 9.6 million rookie contract. Only the 600K isn't guaranteed.
So he's guaranteed $9 million.
Yeah, I mean, and that's in his fourth year, his base salary is just over $2 million. And now there's some programs in the NFL that could actually change what that could be anyway. We saw it with Dan Moore going in his fourth year because of his playing time and all that other stuff. But his guaranteed salary is 1.4. So I mean, and there's a bunch of digits in there. I mean, these aren't exact. These are very, like, honestly, by over the cap, his guaranteed salary in 2026 is 1.443116. Okay, so I'm just estimating. But yeah, so most of his contract was guaranteed, all but like 600K. And really, that's sometimes that was the biggest holdup with him, how much of it was guaranteed. But yeah, pretty much the entire first round now.
Okay. To be that way. I didn't know that. Now, my next question, because you're someone, obviously, you and I do the most work in terms of the written side at steelcurtainnetwork.com. Mm-hmm. And we have, going back to behind the Steel Curtain days, can you remember a time where the entire draft class is under contract this early in the offseason? I cannot.
Before OTAs?
Exactly.
Well, it also helps that OTAs they didn't do the first week, or else we would have been finishing up the first week of OTAs.
Well, today. Right. But rookie minicamp, they got 6 out of 7 players signed during rookie minicamp. Like, I don't even remember that ever happening. It's incredible.
With the rookie scale, it's really easy to do them. Where things get shaky is if is in how you want to. I mean, there's not a lot of freedom with these contracts. Based on the CBA that came in, and oh my goodness, that was 2011 CBA, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So not this past one, but the one before. But that's how it's been set up with the rookie wage scale. So when you're talking later in the draft, I mean, it's almost cookie cutter. First round picks, you could talk about how it's dispensed, and if teams might want to do the amount's going to be the same, but maybe they want workout bonuses to make sure that you're going to be there at certain periods and everything else. Where it gets sketchy now, it used to be like the last half of the first round. But as I said, those are turning more into fully guaranteed. So it doesn't matter how it's distributed. But now it's creeping into the second round, like what we saw with Joey Porter Jr. 2 years ago. Steelers didn't have a second round pick. So they didn't have a choice in that range where there's more negotiating of how much is guaranteed, how much isn't. And you kind of want to see what the guy in front of you and the guy behind you did. So you're falling in accordingly with that. So to me, that's how it all goes down. So it just happened to be a perfect storm of, first round pick fully guaranteed, everybody else, not much negotiation in there. And was missing a player from that zone where there's a lot of negotiation.
And next year is going to be even worse when the Steelers select 35 players in the 2026 draft, and then we have to track all this.
Yes, that'll be interesting.
But for those that don't know, the entire draft class, all 7 players are now officially under contract. The undrafted players are signed. Like, everyone's ready to go. They're ready for OTAs, which again, OTAs phase 3. This is where they can do football-like activities. They can do 7-on-7, 9-on-7, 11-on-11, no contact. That starts Tuesday.
Football and shorts.
Football and shorts. That is right. That starts Tuesday. And they have 2 weeks of that, just at 3 workouts a week. And then they have mandatory minicamp at the beginning of June. And then they're off until we haven't even gotten the dates yet for training camp. I'm actually surprised we haven't gotten that, but it normally comes closer to minicamp, I think. So,
well, it usually comes right around the first week of OTAs, which isn't this week, is next week. So it's usually around that time.
So we'll see. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back after this break, we're going to talk all about Jack Sawyer, and then we're going to talk about some trivia. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, thanks for being patient, Steeler fans. If you're watching live on any platform, clearly we didn't go anywhere. I do want to remind everyone to go check out SteelCurtainNetwork.com. That is a website that is completely free, and we want you to be a part of the community. All you have to do is go to the top of the page. It asks you to log in. You create a free account. You can start commenting. Our comment section is growing every single day, and even in the off season, we have a good community. People get to know one another. That's exactly what we're trying to build. Again, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. Go check it out. But Dave, let's talk about the 4th round pick that kind of, I would say, threw a shockwave across the Steelers fan base because no one expected them to take not Jack Sawyer, but an edge pass rusher. With the dust settled, do you still are you happy with the selection in terms of the process, or did you think they were going to go somewhere else, or did you hope they were going to go somewhere else?
I didn't expect it. I did not expect it to happen in that manner, because that wasn't a position that was on my radar. But that was actually a really good spot to grab fantastic value. Oh, I had always had like a quarterback in round 4. I thought that might have been something that fit in right there. And Will Howard was the guy that I wanted to be taken there. That ended up not being the case. So that one did surprise me. I know a lot of Steelers fans, once the Steelers traded George Pickens, has thrown a fit on social media about what a wasted 4th round pick. That's where they should have gone with a wide receiver. Now, as much as I understand that, think about the Steelers' 4th round wide receivers that they've drafted. How many of them have come in and been significant contributors right away year 1?
I'm trying to think the most recent 4th round receiver was the last one, Calvin Austin, the 3rd.
The last one was Calvin Austin. He obviously was hurt.
Yeah. He had a redshirt year.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other 4th round.
Davis Bryant.
Ah, yes, he was.
And think of how long they did not have him involved.
He was inactive until like game 6 or 7 of that season, something like that.
Because I remember I was at a game watching him, just jogging the whole way around the field, doing high knees and stuff because he wasn't playing. He was inactive.
Okay. So, do we have any others?
I'm trying to look back and see. 4th round. No, that's a 4th round running back. I'm trying to see if there's anyone in between. They didn't have a 4th round pick in 2018. No, Dobbs, their linemen. a cornerback. Bryant, 2014, as I said.
Yeah.
I think that was when I was at that. I think that was the Mike Glennon Tampa Bay game that I remember seeing him jog around. That was early in the season. He still wasn't active, but he still won the Joe Green award. I'm pretty sure
he hit the ground running once he got on the field.
Did, yeah. Which is if he did, I was thinking he did, but he was also drafted with Shazier and Tuitt. Those were both guys but you also got to remember what were they doing in their rookie seasons. I'm still looking back to find any more 4th round wide receiver. I'm still going and I haven't found one yet.
So we get your point though. We get your point though. How many wide receivers in the 4th round are going to come in and actually contribute?
Yeah. So that was ultimately the point of that wasn't going to be an answer this year for George Pickens. So you were better off either, hey, hoping your 3rd round draft pick from last year that never played is someone that would be ready, or you're going to have to do something via free agency or trade between now and the start of the season. So I don't have a problem with that, because when it comes to taking Jack Sawyer with that 4th round pick, I've said this a bunch of times, but I feel like that was that was the sweet spot for an outside linebacker, because anything higher than that is someone that you want to have aspirations of starting. And anything lower than that, you're like, well, why bother? Are they really going to be that much of a good player to not have a big fall off whenever you have your guys rotating in and out? I think he fell in that sweet spot draft wise of expectation and just the value that you got there. So that was one of those on draft day. That was day that I didn't get it when I first saw it, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense.
I'll tell you what, as the time has gone on and the more I think about it, and I also was fortunate enough to, interview people. Like we interviewed someone from Fans First who covers Ohio State. They're a Browns fan. You can listen to that Let's Ride podcast. It was 2 weeks ago. I did Iowa Hawkeyes this past Monday. I'm learning more about these players and what they bring to the Steelers. The more I think about it, it was actually a really smart move, in my opinion, because Jack Sawyer is not expected. Like you brought up the 4th round wide receiver. Let's say they would have drafted a wide receiver. The expectations are this guy's going to have to play, especially after they trade George Pickens. Jack Sawyer expectations should be he just has to be able to fill in when needed.
And play special teams.
And hopefully, and special teams, right. Yeah. And hopefully that's not often, because what I'm sick of seeing is TJ Watt and or Alex Highsmith being it almost looks like they've been ground down to a nub by the end of the season. They're exhausted. They physically they don't have the same burst as they do at the beginning of the season. And I can't help but think that for me, it's based on the fact that they are playing so many snaps and they don't really have a good rotation. It's been since Marcus Golden and I guess Nick Herbig's rookie season, maybe, where they actually were able to get some semblance of a rotation together. Yeah. I think that this is a good spot for Jack Sawyer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that he is going to take over for anyone in the future. He's a rotational piece. And if he can come in and set the edge like Alex Highsmith does, he can come in and just be a physical presence and let TJ and Alex Highsmith get a breather. I think that's fantastic. And even if he only plays special teams this year and does like a Tyler Matakevich role, that should be okay too, because I think that there's value in that. Whereas a wide receiver, unless you're a return man, very few are playing special team snaps. The gunners are not typically guys that are drafted per se. But what do you think about that, Dave?
Yeah, definitely. Like we say, oh, well, Ben Scarano, he's the exception, not the rule.
Right.
So you're hitting it spot on. But my thing is, not only was Jack Sawyer a great value where the Steelers got him, he fit the exact role of what they needed if they were going to add somebody. And that is this. Would I just like to say, oh, I want to see so much Nick Herbig. I just want to see a 3-man rotation, even if they have a 4th or 5th on the roster. Don't even put them in. Just give me 3 guys like they did back when it was Watt, Dupree, and Chicolo. That's the only 3 that they had. And you just run those 3 guys so you give Herbig more play. The only problem is the deficiencies that Nick Herbig has had through 2 seasons against the run. Not that it's awful, but it definitely isn't his strength. So if you're going to add a 4th outside linebacker, you need someone that you can trust to set the edge, stop the run, that kind of player. And that's who Jack Sawyer is. So you didn't want another Nick Herbig. You wanted somebody that complemented him a little bit more. I mean, they're both 4th-round draft picks. I just think it kind of all fits together and works the way, in theory, the way it's supposed to. Now, he's never taken an NFL snap, so we really don't know anything. But even if it doesn't work, I still think the Steelers will be all right at the position outside of big injuries, which is what you can say about anything.
And I think, too, when you think about the defense, Mike Tomlin's made his MO very clear in the last, let's call it the post-Ben era. And that is, we're going to lean on our defense. In the offense, we're just going to have the Duck Hodges quote, just don't kill us, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, the conservative methodology there leads to a lot of 3 and outs. And that leads the defense to be on the field a lot. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, okay, can we get a little bit younger? Can we get a 4th rotational piece? And I think it's exactly what Jack Sawyer is. He seems to be a good character guy, a leader. He cares. I'll ask you this, but I'll answer it first. Jack Sawyer was the one when they lost to Michigan in a heartbreaking fashion at the Horseshoe this past year, and Michigan wants to plant the flag in the middle of the field. It was Jack Sawyer that said, no, hell no, that's not happening here. And everyone, looking back on it, I said this when he got drafted, that'll play well in the AFC North, because honestly, there's a rivalry aspect to the AFC North that isn't all over the NFL. And you want guys that are going to stand up and say, no, you're not doing that. But Dave, any other tangibles, intangibles you want to bring up Jack Sawyer that you like or dislike?
I mean, I like that he was a team captain. Mm-hmm. I like that he was that kind of guy, like you said there. Seems to be someone who, it's more than just being on the field, defending the field, like you said there. That's more than just from whistle to whistle. That's being more about the game and the team than just that. So that's the kind of players you kind of they're like, yeah, this is something that you can do. You can do. And because sometimes you could say the sky's the limit for those kind of players, because how many times have we seen players, maybe some that have even been, traded away from the Steelers recently, that have all the talent in the world, but it seems like they have no heart. Jack Sawyer seems like the kind of player that has heart. So give me heart players. Cam Hayward is a heart player. Not only is he really good, he has heart. That's why he's been my favorite player on the Steelers for quite some time. And he's not the only one. I mean, we could go through and list a bunch of them. But to me, that if you're coming into the NFL with that kind of mentality, that's the kind of player. Now, if you really want to look at it on the flip side and be like, oh no, those are sometimes the players that teams can fall in love with when they're really not good enough, but you just don't want to let them go. So hopefully that's not what's, prime example. I'm going with to me, one of the best examples of a heart guy for the Steelers didn't even start with them, like a Robert Spillane. That to me, that's the kind of player that I'm looking at, that he's just gonna put everything on the field out there. That Steelers fans are like, are they really even going to let him go? And I mean, I think they were fine with what they needed to do when they moved on from Spillane. So maybe that won't be a problem. But I do like that aspect of the character of the player.
And I think too, a lot of people talk about Jack Sawyer from a pass rushing standpoint, whether it's this year or in the future. And they talk about how he's rough around the edges. He's more of a, just a brute. He's just going to overpower you. He's going to bull rush you to the quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you do want to have a little bit of a repertoire of pass rushing moves. My thought on that is, well, is there anyone better to teach him than TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith? Alex Highsmith has a good repertoire as well with the spin move. And I mean, TJ Watt has never been that guy that, I hate to say this, but I'm going to, that's Ben Roethlisberger, somebody that came in. Meaning Ben Roethlisberger with Mason Rudolph in 2018, when he's like, I'm not here to be this guy's mentor. I'm here to, try and win football games. They clearly had a beef with one another. I think that holds true to today for whatever reason. And I think TJ Watt, you think about when Nick Herbig was drafted, they're Wisconsin guys. He sees him as a valuable asset, and he's working with him. The rip, the tuck. He's going to help this guy, and I think he's going to get better. What are you gonna say?
And I think by being that type of player, I say having heart, I think that completes the room. I think the entire position group is that way. I would say that about Nick Herbig. I would say that about Alex Highsmith. I would say that about TJ Watt. They're all kind of almost like a similar mentality there as well. And I'm not saying that you didn't have that with other people in the past, but I mean, honestly, I don't know what some of these guys did in college. They came to the Steelers not straight from college because I didn't pay attention to those kind of things like we are now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so Jack Sawyer, 4th round draft pick. I do want to spend a little bit of time just mentioning that we can't underscore what value he will bring to special teams and talk all about defense, because he's going to have more of an impact, in my opinion, on special teams than he is on defense. His defensive snap totals might be tiny, minuscule, 0 almost at the start of the season, because it might be TJ, Alex, and Herbig's rolling in with them when they need a break. That's it. And so then you might just see them sprinkled in a little bit more. But while they're doing that, Jack Sawyer is going to be a mainstay on special teams. Now the question becomes who doesn't make the team that usually anchors one of those positions. I don't know. It's an interesting discussion. We kind of talked about that on Let's Ride. What was it, 3 weeks ago when we predicted the 53-man roster? And
it was around there sometime.
I mean, is it Mark Robinson? You assume Jeremiah Moon is gone, but if they're going to keep people that are just special teams players, he's a good special teams player, Jeremiah Moon. So I don't know, Dave. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, they could keep a 5th there in special teams as well. But really, I think a lot of that's going to shake up in training camp, in the preseason, and a lot of it will probably have to do with health.
Yeah. All right. I want to, obviously this is a good segue into, I want to ask you something. Football and Shorts is coming up, and we're going to get media access, and we're going to have OTAs phase 3 and media, microphones and faces, sound bites, little clips of individual drills. What are some things that you're looking forward to seeing? Not performance-based, obviously, because it's Football and Shorts. But when you think about next week in OTAs phase 3 starting, what are you looking for? Anything in particular?
Well, for OTAs, the big question is who's there, because they are not mandatory.
So it's one guy, really.
What's that?
To me, it's one guy. Is TJ there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could ask yourself that.
Because is there anyone else that has a contract dispute that might not
but
be there?
At the same time, do you think they really want Cam out there running around and risking stuff?
Nah, but he'll be there.
I see Cam. If Cam has something else going on, and they'll give him like, it's all right. He'll tell him he won't be there. But most likely that if he is there, he'll do the stretches, he'll do the other stuff, but he's not going to do a lot.
As he should.
And that's just kind of how it is. So, yeah, if there's someone, but the thing is, they don't really sometimes always talk about people. Yeah, TJ Watt's going to be the one that people will make a note of whether or not he is there or not. I know, was it last year, the year before, that Najee Harris missed something with that was excused or something? No, I think he might have even missed a mandatory minicamp day that was excused or something, if I remember. So it really is about who's there. To me, it's the excitement of seeing what we're going to be seeing in training camp, because it's a new roster, a new year. This is the first time that these players that are going to be mostly the players for the season out there doing stuff together. To me, it's that it's not even it's not even the trailer for the movie. It's the teaser, the thing that they put out a year and a half before the movie comes out that might just be a logo and it says coming, July 2027, those kind of things. That's really all we're getting. But when it's been this long, bring it. Come on, give me something where there's actually a football going on out there with them.
Well, let me ask you a question that I had asked to me in a mailbag segment a couple weeks ago. And I think this could be, you might get some glimpses of this during OTAs. I don't have an answer, though. Who do you think the offensive leader or leaders are going to be in 2025. Because when you think about it, we don't know if Mason's going to be the quarterback or Aaron Rodgers or whoever. A really young offensive line, not proven commodity. DK Metcalf's a proven commodity, but he's new to the team. If you had to guess, who would be your leaders on the offensive side of the ball this year?
Well, I tell you, when it comes to quarterbacks, it's really going to depend on who the quarterbacks are when day one of training camp arrives.
Right.
And people are like, "Oh, well, the Steelers aren't saying anything with Rodgers." Someone said it in there. Yes, they are. They are saying a lot about Aaron Rodgers by not having a fourth quarterback on the roster. That's the biggest thing that they're saying. If they weren't, and leaving that one spot open where they have 90 players right now where they can have 91, that is them saying that. It's interesting how some of these can evolve. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign with the Steelers, to me, the leader is Mason Rudolph. But the question is, how much is Rudolph going to lead? When I say he's still going to lead, but how much is he going to really be that guy that would maybe be voted captain if he's not the starter? And I still don't know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be that guy if he is the guy that comes in. So to me, you're almost looking elsewhere. I think you suggested Pat Freiermuth. I think that's one that's interesting, but it could emerge somewhere else. And I'm going to say, do not be shocked if it's somebody, although he's very quiet, he is quite a leader in Isaac Seumalo. Or is one of the young offensive linemen ready to go, like someone said in the live chat, maybe even a Zach Frazier? Is he that much of a like a Marquise Pouncey that he's going to be that guy in year two? I don't know, but in my opinion, he's the best guy they have on that offensive line right now. So we'll see. I mean, you can't say it's going to be Broderick Jones hasn't backed it up enough with his play, even though he has the draft status. Same with Troy Fautano. He's played one game. So it will be kind of tough for him in a year like this. So that is a huge question. That's one of the. I mean, I know it'll probably come up on a Scobro show when we talk about 5 biggest questions going into training camp. That's going to be a question that's going to need to be answered. Who's the offensive leader?
I think, and that's the thing is, I'm not talking about who's the captain. I'm saying who are the leaders, because I don't think Marquise Pouncey, he was a captain on some years. He was always a leader on the offense.
Yes.
He always got the guy's attention, got him focused, and got him ready to go. The only question that I have is that the production on field has to match the leadership style off. So you bring up Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones has the persona, has the mindset of a leader. The question is he playing well enough that people are like, yeah, look at this guy, he's dominating? Or are they saying, this guy can't block anyone? Why are we listening to him? Pat Freiermuth is a great option for a leader. He was the one that was trying to keep George Pickens under wraps on the sideline when he was jawing off at fans on the sideline at Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah.
But Pat Freiermuth can't drop passes in critical moments of game. Interesting. Here's the dark horse candidate. What about Jaylen Warren? I could see him. The defense is riddled with leaders. You've got TJ, you've got Minka, you've got Cam. Like that, they're okay. On the offensive side, Zach Frazier barely talks.
Yeah. No, Isaac Seumalo really barely talks. Now, I don't know if I was frozen while you were talking or if you were talking and not coming through. It looks like it might have been you. I wasn't sure if it was me or you. But I got you. You're good here now. I was able to catch every word, but it kind of came through fast. But I didn't want to talk over you if you were still talking when stuff was going on. But yeah, you're exactly right. Who do you have that can back it up? If you're asking somebody like a DK Metcalf to come in and be a leader when he first gets here, that's tough. Jaylen Warren, that's an interesting one. I don't know his personality in the locker room. You've got to have that personality in the locker room. Is he a guy that might even come out more now that he is, at least to start the season, the guy? Or does it take away that, hey, we kind of know that he's on a 1-year deal and Caleb Johnson is is the guy that was just drafted. It's what the offense has been missing, and you still don't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is another Russell Wilson end of the Cincinnati Bengals game with Cam Hayward. And was it that one, or was it the Chiefs game? The one, they're like, hey, it's all right.
Bengals.
It was
Bengals
the
in week 18.
Because you can't just be that guy that's always the hype guy, but you're not out there really backing it up, like you said.
Well, I'm going to go with what Michael Beck called Russell Wilson, because in my opinion, it was always factual. It's Captain Cringe, because a lot of what he said was just very cringeworthy.
You know what? I think that was very time specific. My thing is that the reason that you think about that is because the Steelers lost their last 5 games. He could be saying the exact same message after winning games, and you had no problem with it.
I had a problem with it since the Subway commercials, Dave. Since the Subway commercials, I've had an issue with that.
I don't even remember him in a Subway commercial. I know he did them, but I don't even remember.
Look it up. It was the most awkward thing you've ever seen.
That means you have to actually, my goodness, I don't watch, unless it's sports, I'm not watching live TV.
What do you think they aired a Russell Wilson Subway commercial?
I'll fast forward through commercials. I'm sure I've seen it. I just don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's weird.
But that's the problem, is that when you deliver the same message, win or lose, that could be a problem. And the thing is, we saw that a lot at the end of the year, that it was coming through in the losses, and that was cringy. I get it. But I don't think it was taken in that way when the Steelers were what? What were they with Wilson before that? Were they like 6-2, something like that?
6-3 at one point, yeah.
Yep. So,
all right. I have one more question to talk about before we get to trivia.
Okay.
And that is about Arthur Smith. So here we go. Year 2 of Arthur Smith's offense. And again, all this stuff is so difficult. Last week when we did our prediction special, who's the quarterback? We have no clue. But at the same time, from a schematic standpoint, do you expect to see anything different from Arthur Smith from year 1 to year 2?
Now, I did this as an unpopular opinion a while ago that was presented to me, and I looked up the data, and it's right. Throwing the ball over the middle more does not equal more success.
Right.
It doesn't. There is nothing like the more you throw it over the middle, the more successful you'll be. Actually, some of the most successful teams are teams that don't throw it over the middle. The team that barely throws it over the middle at all was the Philadelphia Eagles, and they are still celebrating their Lombardi. But I will tell you, that is something that I think we will see more this year. It does not mean more success. When you throw the ball in the middle of the field, that is the highest percentage of the field of where interceptions occur, because people could be coming from either direction. But I do think you're going to see the middle of the field used more this year, because honestly, I think the Steelers have the quarterbacks, whether it is Aaron Rodgers or not, that would be more likely to throw the ball there compared to the ones that they had last year. So it's going to be different, because, what does everything start off with football, particularly on offense? The quarterback position. You're not having the same quarterbacks as last year. You're not seeing Justin Fields trying to run a Russell Wilson offense, and you're not seeing a Russell Wilson trying to accommodate the fact that he's 4'2", and can't see over the line to throw over the middle. So you should see some difference there, and you should also see a difference that your running back should be more suited with the style that you want to run the football. It should be more of, you should see something more natural from Arthur Smith, more than trying to figure out what's going on, which should make his job easier, which means if your job is easier, you should do it better. If he's still struggling with stuff like that, then that just tells you a lot of what you would need to know. So that's my hope for it this year, is that if things are fitting together better in that regard, then if Arthur Smith is doing, if it's more in the wheelhouse of what he's comfortable with, you should just be able to see better success from it. Are you
I
there?
think to me, like, I think back to Tennessee because everyone will always go back to Atlanta and they're like, oh, he sucked in Atlanta. Okay, go back to when he had success. What did he have on offense? He had a big play receiver in AJ Brown, young AJ Brown. He had a dynamic running back in Derrick Henry with an offensive line that was really good at opening up holes. And he had a semi-mobile quarterback in Ryan Tannehill who was willing to put the ball where it's supposed to be.
When it hit the back foot, you put it where it's supposed to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so when I look at the Steelers roster, the only question mark I have, I like their running backs. They have DK Metcalf. I like the quarterback options, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph, to be able to do what he wants them to do.
Or even Will Howard.
It's the
I know you
offensive
talked
line.
about that a lot on Let's Ride. That's why I had to bring it up.
It's the offensive line, though.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to open up the holes for the running game? Because everything stems from, in the Arthur Smith offense, being able to establish the run. And I think everyone that watched last year saw they never truly were able to do that. And it's just not an offense that, sometimes they'll say, let's throw it to open up the run. I couldn't tell you the last time the Steelers did that. The Killer Bees era, maybe. Yeah. That was about it. But they had Le'Veon Bell back then with a really good offensive line. So they had the line to do it anyways. So to me, it all comes back to the offensive line. Are they going to be able to hold up?
And I talked about that early in the offseason. I said, I wasn't afraid to say it. I'm still going to stand by it. The success or failure of the 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers will be affected by the offensive line more than any other position. You would think it would be quarterback, but to me, how successful your quarterback can be if your offensive line isn't being successful, then your quarterback's going to struggle regardless of who it is. If your offensive line is doing phenomenal, then your quarterback, it's going to be all on him to screw it up if it's not that the offensive line's back there making him run for his life or get killed. Yeah. So it's a big question mark for the Steelers. It potentially, that you hate that P word, it potentially could come together really good with these young guys. Or all it takes is one or two to find out, you know what, we didn't really hit on those picks, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Dave, let's do some trivia to finish up the show.
All right, trivia. Tonight's episode was brought to you by the outside linebacker, Jack Sawyer. Mm-hmm. With jersey number.
He's 44, isn't he?
Mm-mm.
No? What is he? What number is he?
You don't know. Oh, now you're going to make me second guess it. Oh, my goodness. That could mess up my whole trivia. Okay.
Well, what is he on Steelers.com?
That's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure it. I'm trying to get all the way down to S. No, is it? I'm like, okay, I was right. Whew. Okay. Whew. He's number 33.
33. Okay. Isaac Redman.
Yeah. Who was the last linebacker, inside or out, to play a game for the Steelers wearing a number in the 30s? Not just 33, any number in the 30s. See why that was if you made me second guess.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah,
it was going to be really bad.
Any number in the 30s.
I'm expanding it to not just outside, but inside or outside.
I feel like this has been a long time ago.
Believe it or not, it hasn't.
Now, let me ask a clarifying question. Whoever this gentleman is, did he actually play defense, or is he just like a special teamer that is labeled as a linebacker?
That is a very good question. And what my first instinct was no, and I am exactly right, because this player, their snaps on defense were huge compared to their special team snaps.
Okay.
I'll tell you, they played almost 300 defensive snaps.
In the 30s. The number was in the 30s.
The number was in the 30s.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on this.
It's tough.
Can you give me a year?
2023.
2023.
Unless I missed somebody. You know, and I made it. I mean, there was a linebacker. Like, I'll be honest with you, he's had so many different numbers with the practice squad. David Perales had a 30 number at one point, but he's never appeared in a game, so it didn't matter.
Well, Miles Jack, wasn't he like 16 when he came back though?
Yes, but you're not far off. Your thinking is along the right track.
So it's inside linebacker. Was it the guy they traded from Jacksonville?
No, now you're getting colder. You're thinking of Joe Schobert.
There you go.
You're getting colder. Schobert. You're thinking of that 2023 season when they had all kinds of problems at inside linebacker. Miles Jack was one of the Band-Aids they brought in.
I can't think of it.
Okay. His name was, now you might have to say, I might not pronounce it right because it's spelled differently, but I'm going to pronounce it Michael Walker or Macau Walker. Wore number 38, played in 8 games with 5 starts and played almost 300 snaps.
See, I never would have gotten that. That's a name that completely left my brain.
So I was trying to do this because it was just you, and I'm like, let's have somebody nice and recent. But yeah, that was a tough one. I forgot that he wore number 38 until I saw it. Now I could ask you the last player. It's funny because they have Michael Walker or Macau Walker listed on Pro Football Reference as an outside linebacker, but that's only in a 4-3. With the Steelers, he was listed as a linebacker because we knew he was playing off ball. There's another player that was somewhat recent, but was listed as an outside linebacker that wore a number in the 30s that I had as who would have been the last outside linebacker. But I'm not sure that he really was outside. I think he was inside as well, even though he was listed on even as the Steelers. He was listed as just a linebacker, so that probably wasn't it. Because the other one that it goes back to was what appeared in one game with the number 30 was to Gray Scales in 2021. You remember him?
No, I do, but I never would have guessed that. You could have given me a million guesses.
Yes.
I never would have guessed.
That's why I didn't even bother going into it too much. But guess what? That just goes to show how rare it is that the Steelers have a number in the 30s for a linebacker. My big question is this. Do you think by week 1, he's wearing the same number?
I'm trying to think what number he wore at college. Do you know off the top of your head?
Was it? I'm going to mess this up.
I'll look it up real quick.
Was it 42?
It was in the 40s, I believe.
Yeah, it was in the 40s. I think that's why Bad.
No, he wore
predicted
33.
44.
He wore 33 in college.
Did he wear 33 in college? I see
I don't
pictures
think
of him
he's
wearing 33.
So I don't think he's.
No, if that's the case, he's not changing.
No, that's his number. Then
I was thinking he was wearing a different number. Huh.
Yeah. I think that there's a good chance in week 1 he'll be 33.
Yeah, then in week 1, then I think you're right. Man, I was thinking that he was something else. I'm trying no, and it looked like he was 33 all 4 seasons. I had to double check to make sure it was 4, not 5, because you know how it is these times. But yeah, so yeah, I think he'll stick with that. That's crazy.
So, well, good trivia. I never, like I said, Michael Walker and to Gray Scales, man, we're digging real deep to those guys. But all right, Dave, why don't you do some final thoughts?
Oh, I'm not used to having to do final thoughts without having to. Yeah, I usually get 3 to 5 minutes of prep while Bad does his. But no, my final thoughts is, once again, I do want to congratulate the Davis family. Yep. You know, with Brian's son graduating tonight. For those of you who might have joined late, that's where Brian is tonight. It's his son's high school graduation. Whew. Final thoughts are, I did an article at steelcardnetwork.com that ran today that was like, I was frustrated, and my frustrations are geared towards Art Rooney II, only because he's the only one to say anything about it yet. And yes, it's true. It might not be all on him or whatnot, but when the schedule came out, and I didn't know it when we did our schedule show because we were doing the show while he was speaking, I think with Missy Matthews it was. And he's talked about the Ireland game and said that they'll probably follow the same schedule of how to go there. And then both Cam Hayward and Ben Roethlisberger's talk on their podcast this week about how they were so not prepared. They were, Cam said guys were falling asleep at practice. Guys were falling asleep in meetings. Guys were falling asleep during the stretches. They couldn't get anything going in the first half because it felt like they were asleep. And I looked up the numbers recently, and yeah, going back to 2018, by my calculations, if a team goes early, they're 8-1. Now, what's ironic is the one team that lost, they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. So it might not make that big of a difference. But I expect the Vikings to go late in the week because they're going to be there for 2 games. So I don't think that they would want to take the players away.
David Stefano told me on the my NFL show with him that he filled in for Wesley this week because he's a Vikings guy. They're leaving as early as possible. They've done the studies on the sleep cycles, and they need to get there as soon as possible. Which
I think is interesting because they won overseas last year, and they left on Thursday and arrived on Friday.
That's interesting.
That's what they did last year. They went late. So
that's really interesting.
If you look at, I don't know that any team has gone early in the week that was there for 2 weeks, but just looking last year at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they went over late because they were going to be there 2 games in a row. They played the Bears, who went over early, got crushed like 30-something to 14. Then the next week they played the Patriots. They crushed the Patriots 30-something to 14. So, and the Bears and the Patriots finished with very similar records last year. So it's not like it was a discrepancy in quality of opponent, that it was that much of a difference. So I'm hoping that maybe Cam can talk some sense into him, even if it's just another day. Because also now you're talking about when the Steelers were there the last time, that was a primetime game more or less over there because they played at 1:00 Eastern. Now they're playing at 9:30. So I'm really hoping that the Steelers, that maybe Art Rooney hadn't really thought it through or scheduled anything and just said it, in the interview. But if they really have some big plans, I really hope they reconsider that. I just wanted to get that out there because that was an article that I did for SteelCurtainNetwork.com. Make sure you go and check that out. But so I'm like, man, if they really want to win, I mean, is it the money of having to house everybody from the team, not just the team, but the trainers and the staff and everybody that's going over there? Is that the issue? Because I know you've talked about it before, that the Rooneys aren't billionaires that have a football team. The Rooneys are billionaires because they have a football team. That's their capital. That's their equity. That's what gives them their money. Not that they have money outside of it to invest. But to me, I hope it's one thing to ignore analytics, but to look at really how those outcomes have come, I hope they learn their lesson and they try to go a little bit earlier in the week.
That's interesting stuff. And I read the article. It's a good article. Go check it out, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. My final thoughts are simple. I hope everyone has a fantastic Memorial Day holiday weekend. For those in the continental United States, you know what that's all about. So thank y'all for especially those that serve and have served. We appreciate it. But that's it for us. I next week, again, it'll just be Dave and I because Brian has another graduation ceremony. And so, Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
See you next week. Another Steelers preview. Take it easy, everyone.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.